Everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSI DFS Fantasy NFL Picks. I'm Roast Megaroar 31, a little bit under the weather, so I'm fine. Just my coming off a cold, so I feel fine, but my voice might give out. So I try to bang this out as fast as I can for our Week 11 preview for you. We got 11 games for Week 11. No Europe game early this week. Got some really close games. We got some really potential for some blowouts. So run through them quick. I'll highlight some players in each game, and then we'll go through the sheet, and then I'll give you a course, get you on your way for your weekend. So first game, Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions. Looks like Justin Fields is going to return for this one. 47.5 total. Detroit favored by 7.5. Chicago side, Fields is back. It looks like everybody's back in the backfield, though Foreman's now questionable. But you have like Foreman, Herbert should be back. Rashawn Johnson came back last week. Don't know, like Fields can run the ball. When his running backs can run the ball. Detroit has a decent defense. I don't think I'm touching any of this. I know Fields, some people are recommending for a cash play, but I don't think I can go there. DJ Moore, I think, is back in play here, and Komet. So maybe Fields more. Komet wouldn't really probably even touch the any of the running back situations, so we get a clear picture there. Detroit side, I think Goff's definitely in play. Cash, GPP, however. Gibbs and Montgomery, you got to figure out where we want to do there. It used to be Montgomery was the hammer and the goal line back, and Gibbs was to change the pace. And if they're behind, it should be a positive game script. Detroit should be ahead, so that means that Montgomery should get it. We do see Gibbs get a 1 yard touchdown run last week, but I think it's just because he had such a long run to get him down there that the coach kind of rewarded him for getting him there, gave him one chance to get it in, and he did. So, but I think with Montgomery out and Gibbs has really emerged, I think it'll be a 50-50 split. I think you can play both of them here. Wide receivers, St. Brown's definitely play. Josh Reynolds, more of GPP. Jameson Williams is the kind of the home run threat there, like scratch off lottery ticket. 3-3 could get you 0, could get you 10 and break the slate. You never know there. And Sam Laporte is a solid tight end, and Detroit defense definitely in play also. Next game, we have Las Vegas going to Miami Dolphins, 45.5 total. Miami's almost favored by 2 touchdowns here. O'Connell gets another start here. Josh Jacobs, he was more in play, I think, when he had Carr there, because Carr didn't really ran through his progression so fast, and he checked down to him a lot. But you don't really see that as much with O'Connell. Miami's not got a great defense, but they're okay. So I think Jacobs is GPP, not touching him. Devontae Adams, I don't know if he's gonna. I think we need to see more of how this Las Vegas offense under new coaching system and O'Connell's going to play out before I can pay 7-9 for Adams. Myers might be in play. Renfro might emerge, and Mayer, the tight end, I think is a safe bet there. I know Austin Hooper's still there, but it seems like Mayer's the one that's really kind of breaking out. He's only 2.7, so he doesn't really need to do much to pay off his price tag. So I think he's pretty much the only one I really look for there. Especially if you're doing a game stack here, like Mayer, maybe to run it back. It's a lot cheaper than Adams. On the other side, Tua's always in play, but more of GPP. Doesn't have the rushing upside for a cash quarterback that I like, but definitely could get there. Now, we thought the Chicago backfield was a mess. Mostert should be back. Kane should be back. Also, he's questionable, but it looks like he play. You have him on there. You have Jeff Wilson. So who knows how this is going to slice out? I'm not going to touch it. Again, if you want to try to catch lightning in a bottle or find out which the scratch off lottery ticket is for this one, go for it. If you hit it right, like in the Denver game, you might strike gold, but I don't know. It's too risky for me to do in cash and even in GPP until we see a clearer picture. I'm not going to touch this. Tree Kill should be popular if you can pay out for him at wide receiver, no problem there. Waddle's more of a GPP guy, or a cheaper exposure. If I'm trying to get exposure to this Miami passing game, just take Tua. And then the others between Wilson and Barrios and Craycraft, who knows how they're gonna pan out there. And then wide receiver or tight end, not interested in any of them there. So nice total here. I think it's more of a GPP build, because if it's a blowout, then maybe some of these guys sit, and what's just going to be running the ball to run out the clock, and who knows which one of these 4 running backs might get the work there. Steelers and the Browns, this game could end up like 9-6. It has a 32.5 total, which is super low. I bet the under. You got 2 decent defenses. You've got Pittsburgh starting to put together a little bit more here, so I think Pickett's serviceable. The running back situation's another timeshare that who knows, which one's going to have the hot hand. DeAndre Johnson, I think, is the safest bet for wide receiver with the volume. Pickens is a home run threat there. Austin's fast, and again, he's just kind of like we were talking about in the Detroit game there, where Jameson Williams could like catch a deep ball. And then Brian with the tight end should be back. He's 2.5. If he starts, I might just lock him in my cash line, not in my tight end position, but even my flex position, because he doesn't do much at 2.5. It's like cold minimum right there. In a game that's not going to have a ton of offense. So if he just gets a couple, like 3 or 4 catches, even if he only gets like 18 or 20 yards, I mean, I think that pays it off and opens up salary to try to get like Hill in your lineup or some of these other plays. So Steelers defense definitely in play. On the Cleveland side, Dorian Thompson-Robinson is going to get the start. I think he's really intriguing at GPP because I loved him in the preseason. He was amazing, electric, kind of reminded me of like Kyler Murray looked before the knee injury. And I know he had a chance to come in and against Baltimore when Watson first got hurt, and he completely bombed, but he didn't get a chance to have a full practice or like run through the playbook or even get reps with the first team there. So, and now I think they've given him some time to be able to work with the team, to be able to say, okay, you're the guy. He had really good career at UCLA. I mean, it wasn't like he was Mr. Irrelevant. He was picked in the 5th round. But still, I think that there's a lot of upside here, especially with his rushing ability. So very intrigued on him. Ford and Hunt and Strong, you still have a kind of muddy backfield there. Ford should get most of it, but then again, it might be Hunt. You never know. Not touching that one either. Amari Cooper, I think if GPP play, I wouldn't say he's like safer cash. Elijah Moore, eventually this guy's going to break out game, but God only knows when it's going to be. He's only 3.5, so you're really not losing much if you do try to play him. I kind of like Njoku as a tight end. There's a lot of great tight end options. I think he'll kind of maybe get lost in that with him, but usually like when younger quarterbacks come, like a tight end's like a safety blanket. He was that for like Baker Mayfield when Mayfield was first starting out. So I think definitely he could be in play here also, and definitely the Cleveland defense. So I think basically both the defenses are really what I'm looking for potentially in cash, and maybe Deontay Johnson for the volume and DTR, the quarterback for Cleveland in GPP, just open up salary. And if I'm playing him, then I might pair like Cooper and Njoku with him. Chargers and Green Bay Packers, 43.5 total. Chargers are favored by 3, but it's like their whole wide receiver core is hurt here. So Herbert, I don't know if I could play him at 7.6, because who's he going to throw to? If Allen is out and Guyton's questionable here too, like that's going to give us like Quentin Johnson, Darius Davis, Sime Fuhuku, and then a bunch of other guys we've never heard of before. And they're tight end average out. So Parham is there. So like they are thin at throwing the ball. So I don't think I can play Herbert. Like Green Bay is not a great defense, but they might turn into one if they don't have. So I think if Allen's in, like I think he's got an AGC join, and I think he's trending towards playing. There was another wide receiver that had that can't remember who it was earlier. It's more like he's not throwing the ball, so I mean, he should be able to catch the ball. It might hurt to lift his arms in certain directions, but he should be good to go. but still, like, even if he's like limited or takes a hit on it and can't play, and if Guyton's out, like I think Eckler is like the one to really focus on here. More of a GPP play, but I just kind of writing this Charger team off. And then Green Bay, like Love was good and early has had some good stretches this season, but he's also had some bad stretches. Aaron Jones is still trying to get there, coming back from the injury. We're seeing a little bit more. AJ Dillon is like a waste of a roster spot if you put him there. Christian Watson has some explosive talent. We saw it more at Rodgers last year, but he just hasn't put it together this year, and he's been injured. Dubes and Reed are there. They've caught some touchdown passes, but they're few and far between. And Luke Musgrove, I think, is decent at tight end, but had his injury issues also. So really don't like much from this game. And it didn't even make my board with a 3-point total or a 3-point spread and a decent total, because I bet the under on this one too. Like, so I think I'm gonna bet the under on the Cincinnati. Might put together like an under parlay here. So put together the under on Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, and the under on the Chargers in Green Bay. And we'll see if we find like a third parlay to put with that before we're done with this video. So next game, which looks like a horrible game with only a 37.5 total, but you have two bad teams going against each other, and it could actually turn into something decent. So Tommy DeVito, I know I've trashed him. I said Thomas DeVito, he came from Illinois, but he was previously at Syracuse, and he couldn't even get to the Syracuse starting lineup as quarterback. He was like second or third string there. So, but he did have some touchdown passes against very good Dallas defense. He had the Jets defense before that, and he just really hasn't had time to prepare and to go. And Washington traded away their best two pass rushers, so there's not really pass rush. He should have some time. Like, Washington's defense isn't abysmal, but I think there's an opportunity, so I don't think it's crazy to play DeVito. Saquon Barkley, I think, could be in play here also. Again, like, Washington traded away like some of the really good defensive players, so he could have a day there. Wide receiver, I would only really, I think Hyatt's in concussion protocol, so I would say Slayton's your deep threat, and Wando Robinson is like your check down guy that might catch 10 passes for 15 yards, but at least you got the 10 points for the 10 receptions. And then Bellinger is okay as a tight end, but I don't think he gets more than like 5 or 6 points there. So this is definitely GPP. I think the Giants defense potentially could be in play, only simply because Howell has taken so many sacks. He holds onto the ball way too long that even though the Giants don't have a great pass rush, I think that they could still get there just because Howell is really struggling with that internal clock, knowing when to try to get rid of the ball. So speaking of Howell, I think he's definitely in play. He'll be throwing the ball a lot. Brian Robinson had a great game, and Gibbs is he out, or he's doubtful. So I mean, there's no longer a timeshare here, and I don't think Chris Rodriguez or Derek Gore are really going to get too many snaps. So Brian Robinson is the man. Had a nice catch and run for a touchdown last week, and I think he definitely can be in play, especially if they get ahead with a positive game script. He might be like just fed the ball to run out the clock. So McLaurin could definitely have an explosive game. Dotson is in the mix. It looks like Samuel will be back too, and he's really cheap at 3.6. So if you want to take a shot on any of those wide receivers, and Logan Thomas at 3.7 is decent at tight end, and it's just been nice that he's actually kind of stayed healthy this year. So watch he gets injured out of this game, but hopefully not. So I think there's some decent ways you can stack that. So I'll go with Howell and B-Rob. Commander's defense makes a lot of sense too, and then run it back with like Slayton or Barkley probably. I wouldn't run it back with like Wendell Robinson because if they're trailing and they might have to throw it deeper than checking it down to him quite a few times. Next up, we have the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. 40 total. Jacksonville's favored about 6.5. Really don't like anything in the Tennessee. Like Will Levis, we've seen regression there. I think Hopkins is in play. I think that's very much like Derrick Henry, maybe on FanDuel, but he doesn't catch the ball in the backfield. You're starting to see his age, like his price has dropped down to like 6.3. So besides Hopkins, I'm really not interested. On Jacksonville's side, like Lawrence is out there. ETN, I think, is in play. Ridley has been disappointing this season. Kirk is the guy. Zay Jones might be back. That might screw things up more. And then Everett Ingram is there. A decent tight end, somebody that could break 10 DK points for you on a week that's where like there's really no like upper tight ends because Andrews unfortunately is hurt and wasn't on the slate. Kelsey is not on the slate. Um Hawkinson's not on the slate either. So I mean there's really no tight ends besides like Laporte and Kittle to pay up for, and maybe like Schultz. So I think he could definitely be in play for a tight end in the mid range. So, and I don't think you necessarily need to play Lawrence. And again, I just really don't like this game here. If you want to do a game stack with like Lawrence and ETN and like Kirk or Ingram and run it back with Hopkins, I get it in a GPP, but there's nothing really cash worthy in this game that I'm too excited about. Next up, we have Dallas and Carolina. Dallas gets another easy matchup. They just ran over the Giants again last week. So I think it could be more of the same, but you might only get 3/4 out of him like we did. Like Dak sat after 3/4 last week, but he scored a ton of points. So like had 400 yards passing and multiple touchdowns, and it worked. Pollard, we'll just have to see what happens here. It looks like Rico Dowell, who I thought is kind of emerging, and I had a conversation with a guy at work, and he made a good point that you thought that like Pollard just doesn't have his explosiveness with the having the ankle surgery, whether in the offseason. He's kind of turned into Ezekiel Elliott, and Rico Dowell has kind of turned into the Pollard role of last year, the more explosive back, but he's banged up and questionable. So if he's not there, Deuce Vaughn might be at 4K, might be one to take a shot on. But if not, then maybe Pollard gets some more. And I don't think he needs to, have like explosive like running against this Panthers defense. I think that they can get up and then just hand him the ball around the clock. So, and those yards could add up. So I think be decent. His price dropped decent too. He's like only 6'6". He's not up in like the 7 or 8K range. So I think he'll be very popular in his price point. CeeDee Lamb's just been amazing. Just multiple games with catches and yardage. So he's in play. You compare him with Dak. Cook has definitely emerged. Finally, got healthy as like the wide receiver too. Gallup's kind of fallen away. Torbert, I think, at 3.2 is a decent price for someone in a GPP to be to take a shot on if he's healthy. I know he's a little banged up. And then Ferguson, the tight end, definitely works. So, and Dallas defense. So if you can pay up for him. So there's definitely lots of great plays on the Dallas side. And I think you can even stack this game. I put it as my 5th favorite game because you can run it back with Thielen, even though it's expensive. And the whole thing is expensive. There's enough cheap pieces out there this week that you can definitely make, especially like Firemuth at like 2.5. You can make some of these things work. Carolina side of it, not playing Bryce Young. Hubbard and Sanders is another muddy backfield. If Hubbard seems to get the catches and more snaps, but not enough to make me want to do anything. Mingo again is we've talked about him. He's going to have an explosive game eventually, but I don't think this is a game against the Dallas defense. And Tremble, a tight end, I'm not interested in. So kind of moving on from there. Okay, probably the most exciting game of the week, and it's number 1 on my board here, is going to be the Arizona Cardinals and the Houston Texans. Kyler Murray is back. James Conner's back. Looks like both sides are going to be pretty healthy, although Nico Collins is questionable, and it looks like Brown's potentially going to be out for Houston, the rookie wide receiver. So starting the Arizona side, Kyler Murray, he's not the Kyler Murray he was last season before the injury. Still a little bit apprehensive about running and stuff. We might see that start to come back, but I think it's going to take a while. I think they want him to be more of a pocket passer, and they're not going to do designed runs for him. If he has to run, he will. But I think it's more like look down the field, check off. With Connor back, definitely Um, Houston's got an okay defense, but I think Connor definitely will be in play at 5'7". Marquise Brown really connected with Murray last year and looked really good, even like especially after the Hopkins trade. I think he was the reason that they pretty much I think he was around during that time. But anyways, Brown's definitely the one that I'm looking for. Michael Wilson and Rondo Moore in play also. I just have to see. One of them was questionable. I think it was Wilson. So if Wilson's out, then Moore is definitely going to be one to look at. And McBride, the tight end, is an absolute stud at 4-4. Somebody that could get you at least 10 DK points, has a ceiling of like 15 to 20. So could get the volume. He's an athletic tight end. And I think, even though it's a new quarterback, I think Murray will be fine finding him. And definitely someone that probably going to be up in the 5 or 6K range very soon. On the Houston side of it, love CJ Stroud. I think he could be potentially one of the best quarterbacks in the league because he's playing that way this season. He's not playing like a rookie. He's making good decisions. He's only had 2 interceptions, and this Arizona defense is not good, and you could absolutely shred him. Singletary should be a very popular running back. Now, Pierce is out again. I know Singletary doesn't have explosive, and he doesn't catch a ton of balls out of the backfield, but just they should be positive gameship. They should be up, and they should be handing the ball off to him towards the end of it just to run the clock out. So he should be able to accumulate yardage and points that way. Nico Collins, if he's in, it's a good play. Tank Dell, I think, is the top wide receiver on the whole slate, whether Collins is or not. And then Woods creeps back into things at 3-7. Just remember, he had a solid couple first weeks of the season. So if Collins is out, I know Woods is like older, but he's still a veteran wide receiver and kind of know crafty and running routes and things like that. So keep an eye on him. And then Dalton Schultz, I think, is definitely in play, especially if multiple wide receivers are out. A little expensive for a tight end at 5. I definitely want to play 4-4 for McBride over him, but in a GPP, if you're trying to like triple stack with Stroud, I think Schultz definitely makes sense there. The defenses, maybe the Houston defense, but I definitely would not be playing Arizona. Next game, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the San Francisco 49ers. Tampa Bay only has a 15 total here. It's like a 41.5 total for the game with 11.5 for San Francisco. Looks like they're actually going to like annihilate them. I don't know if that's like, I think I would bet the over on Tampa Bay because like Baker Mayfield just kind of finds a way to do things to score points. So I don't know if you definitely not playing him in cash. He's potentially in a GPP. White is a great play either way because if they're ahead, he runs the ball. If he's behind, he catches the ball out of the backfield. He's pretty much the only real like bell cow back in the NFL right now that really doesn't have like Chase Edmonds is there and Sean Tucker, but they just really haven't done much. It's been White and White and White. And he's been pretty solid last few weeks. So definitely like him. Evans is also like kind of matchup proof. He just is a priority and catches balls. Godwin's still there too. But it just seems like Evans is the focus, and then Cade Otton, like another cheap tight end that's like decent if you want to throw him into a stack there. He only has 1 touchdown for the season, I believe, but definitely an athletic tight end that has potential. The San Francisco side, I think Brock Purdy is going to be pretty popular here. Probably a lot of people's cash quarterbacks, but I just don't like him as much because of the run upside. And the other, I think the reason they're doing it is just because they don't know where to go with the San Francisco offense. Like McCaffrey finally didn't have a touchdown, but he'll probably start a new streak with that this week. Elijah Mitchell's there. But like you have McCaffrey, you have Devo Sanders back and healthy, you have Ayuk, Kittle. And it seems like Kittle, when everybody's healthy, becomes more of a blocker and a decoy. He doesn't catch so many balls and it isn't a priority. So I can't play 6-4 for him in cash. And I don't know if I want to play one of these wide receivers in cash. So I think that's why people are leaning towards Purdy. It's the same way you kind of when Tua has all those weapons that you just play the quarterback to get exposure to an explosive offense versus trying to figure out which wide receiver is or even McCaffrey here is going to be the one. So I think you can play San Francisco pieces in cash. I think you Purdy, if you get up McCaffrey, I mean, that's kind of a tall ask. Um, but there's the value out there to get him in the cash lineup. And so if I'm playing this, like I didn't put on the board just with the spread, I don't think it's going to be 11 points. I think Tampa Bay can keep it closer, but you can always run it back with like White or Evans. And stack pretty cheap quarterback at 5'8" with like Samuel or IU cover. You want to run that way. So game is stackable. And if you want to go with San Francisco D, they're actually priced in the mid-range, which is cool. So I think that if you want to play them in cash or GPP, actually and FanDuel they're in the medium range. DK, I think they're up there, like it's their most expensive. So that definitely be a GPP play, not a cash play. Jets and the Bills. I cannot believe that the Bills are like what 5-5 and the Jets are 4-5. That if the Jets beat the Bills again, which they did in week 1 after losing Aaron Rodgers, I think the Bills have just spiraled this season. Defense has not been as good. Josh Allen just can't hit his targets. Like Cook and fumble the ball. Latavius Murray's coming in and taking snaps as Cook's like being put on timeout in the sideline. Kincaid is the only bright spot that's really emerged with Knox being out injured. And then the Jets have found a way to win, even though like Zach Wilson is a marginal NFL quarterback. Breece Hall has been solid. Dalvin Cook has disappeared. I don't know if like playing against I believe it's his brother, I think. And James Cook on the other side is going to rise to the occasion, but who knows there. Garrett Wilson's been solid. He's a little banged up, but he should be playing. Lazard, they pay a lot of money too to bring in to make Rodgers happy, but he just hasn't done it. It was like on the front page of like the Post or Daily News saying that he's guaranteed like $22 million out of his $44 million contract, and he just really hasn't done anything to earn it. And he just blamed it on the QB. And then Conklin's okay tight end. So as I look at this game, I think that there's pieces on both sides that could work out, but I'm not playing Zach Wilson. Josh Allen, maybe this is, but the Jets defense is great, and they turned him over so many times in the first game that why couldn't they do it again? So maybe the Jets defense is a play here. Bill's defense, I'm definitely not playing. Breece Hall, I think, could be in play. I'm not touching the Buffalo backfield. Diggs is expensive. I'd rather take I'd even put him on the board in the pay up for wide receiver because I'd rather have Hill, I'd rather have St. Brown, I'd rather have Lamb, and I'd rather have Keenan Allen if he's in. So I just really not that much from this game. Garrett Wilson, I think you can maybe play in a GPP at 6'4" is not too expensive, and Kincaid maybe at tight end. So again, this game looks better on paper than it does if you really start thinking about it and trying to break down fantasy relevance from it. I don't think there's a ton of it. Like maybe the Jets D, I think, is maybe the way to go with this and move on. So next game, really close game, 1.5 spread here, closest spread in all the games, I believe, 46.5 total, Seattle and the Rams. So here's some juice. And I have this as my third favorite game up there on the board. So I think Geno Smith is definitely playing cash or GPP. Kenneth Walker, I wouldn't play. It seems like Charbonnet is starting to eat into his time, and this is probably a 60-40 right now, but it's heading towards a 50-50 potentially. So not touching the running back situation. Lockett's banged up potentially or hamstring, so he might not play. DJ Metcalf looks like he's starting to get healthier, so he's definitely what I look at, especially if Lockett's out. And if Lockett's out, then Jackson Smith and the Jigba is definitely someone to look at. Not touching the tight end situation and the defense. With such a high total, I don't think I'm going there. On the Rams side of it, I think Stafford could be in play also. I like Smith better. He's cheaper and probably could score like a couple more points than him. The running back situation, Henderson's okay at 5K. I think there's better plays out there. A wide receiver like Kupp and Nakua, you can go either one. You're saving $1,000 by going Nakua, and I think you're only sacrificing a couple points. So I think I'd lean Nakua there, and then Higbee, the tight end, really hasn't done a ton. So if I'm stacking this one, I'm probably going Geno Smith and Metcalf, and then picking Nakua. But if you have enough money to get up to Kupp, then that makes sense there. And that is the last game that we have here. So looking at the board here quickly, high quarterbacks, like I said, I'm paying up for Dak, paying up for Tua, and possibly Fields coming back. I'm not doing Allen, and I'm not doing Herbert just because I just too many questions there. Medium range, I think Murray's going to be very popular. CJ Stroud, I really like. Goff and Geno Smith are solid options there. Cheap, I think a lot of people are going to go with Purdy. He's going to have high ownership because people want to get exposures to San Francisco weapons, but don't know which ones to pick. So if you pick the quarterback, then hopefully you get exposure to anything that might happen, especially if it's passing touchdown. Howell against the Giants D works, and then Thompson Robinson, I'm going to take a shot on there. And DeVito, I think makes the same case. I just kind of like what I saw in the preseason, Thompson Robinson better. I'm not playing Pickett. I'm not playing O'Connell. I'm not playing Young. And Watson's the only one that's injury alert there. For running back, Akane should be back off the. We'll just have to make sure he's active for Miami. Foreman is questionable after practice this week. Pierce is out. Gibson's doubtful. And Dowdle injured his ankle late in practice, I think on Friday. So if he's out, then that definitely helps Pollard. But paying up CMC, Eckler, because if there's no way to, and I know that's spelled wrong. I hate it when this sheet accidentally auto corrects the spelling. So it's Ekeller or Ekeler. So I'll fix that later. Gibbs, I think, is definitely playing NTN in the medium range. Hall against the Buffalo defense should do well. Jacobs, again, I just kind of a little bit down on him because he doesn't seem to be catching him any balls because O'Connell is like looking more through the progressions and just checking right down to him like Harded. Pollard, again, doesn't have the explosion that he used to. His price has come down, which is nice. And if Dowdle's out, he should definitely have a positive game strip and should definitely have a opportunity to have a good game against Carolina. And Montgomery, I think, can be in play there also, especially if they're ahead, they might give it to him and he should turn into the goal line back unless, again, Gibbs leads them all the way down the field and they just want to reward him. In the cheap range, I think a lot of people are going here. Singletary should be probably the most popular running back with Pierce out in a good matchup against Arizona. Robinson, same thing with Gibbs out against the Giants, and a positive game script there. White, again, he's against San Francisco. It's a decent defense, but he can be the one to run the ball, or if they're behind, he can be one to catch the ball. He's got like a huge share in that backfield, uncontested. So I like him. And then Connor comes back and hopefully rounds into form and can put up some fantasy points there. Cash fades, I'm not playing Aaron Jones. He hasn't done enough from Green Bay for me to trust him. Plus the Chargers are more of a stop the run and a pass funnel defense. Henry's just been horrible this year. All Miami running backs I'm not interested in, and none of the Cooks on the Jets or the Bills. Wide receiver wise, Hill's definitely probably the top one. If you can get up to him, he's trying to get 2,000 yards, and looks like Tua and the offensive coordinator is trying to feed him to get him there. St. Brown's got a great matchup. Lamb has just been consistent recently, and Allen, if he's healthy, well, he's not going to be healthy, but if he's playing and it doesn't look like he's going to be a snap count or anything, like they really are so decimated in wide receiver that he's definitely one to consider there just for pure volume. The over 6K one, Nakua and Cup, like both of them, but remember you're saving 1,000 by taking Nakua over Cup. Metcalf should be solid there, especially look for Lockett News. Evans is just a target monster there for Tampa Bay. And then Wilson for the Jets is in play. The 5 to 6K range, I think, is where everybody's going to hammer. Dell is probably the best wide receiver on the slate, whether Collins plays or not. Kirk is in play. McLaren and Brown for has good rapport with Kyler Murray. And then sub 5K, Wilson and Moore, both other wide receivers for the Cardinals, just see if make sure Wilson is playing. If not, then Moore makes a better one. Samuel, if he's in play for Washington, is good. And then if you're playing some DeVito, then Wendell Robinson and Slayton are ones that you can pair with him to make a cheap stack there. For tight end, Laporte is definitely the pay-up option. Schultz is also spelled wrong. Apologize for that. I'll fix that also later. But Houston, he's a little pricey on FanDuel, and on DK, he's in kind of expensive too, but I think if you're playing Stroud and you're trying to capture points in that game, then if you want to double stack him with do a Stroud Dell Schultz, even if you have Singletary's running back, if you want to go all four of them, that's fine. Kittle, again, if everybody's there, he just seems to be more of a decoy and a blocking person than actually somebody that's has scripted plays in the offense, so I'm kind of off him there. McBride's probably gonna be the most popular tight end, and it's definitely worthwhile. Kincaid's probably the one bright spot recently in Buffalo, and Ferguson for Dallas should be in play also. Ingram doesn't catch many touchdowns, but he's got a good Tennessee's a pass funnel defense, and he should be open. Komet has done well with Chicago no matter who the quarterback's been, and Logan Thomas should have a good day with a pass-heavy offense that Washington has. Freiermuth coming back is 2.5. He's so cheap. I know even before he got injured, he wasn't doing much early, but I think Pickett was still trying to find his way. And last year, this guy was so solid over the last couple of seasons. So, if he comes back, the hamstring's good. At 2.5, he doesn't need to do much to pay off. So I think he could turn into a kind of a free square. Parham is the tight end now with the Chargers, and they're limited, and Mayer has been decent, and a decent option for O'Connell for Las Vegas. So best buys for defenses in Miami and Washington. If you're going to pay up, take Dallas or San Francisco. If you're punting, the Jets versus the Bills, who have really struggled, and Green Bay against Las Vegas, who has struggled also. And I think Pittsburgh and Cleveland is going to be a low-scoring affair, so they're both in play. I would not play Las Vegas or Arizona. And we've already talked about my game tracks. So let's look at the Bills and get you on your way for your Sunday. So I'm going to take Stroud. Again, Purdy, I think, is going to be very popular there. B-Rob, Singletary are going to be my running backs, and Dell wide receiver. I'm going to try to get Hill in if I can. If not, I'll flatten it out and probably go Metcalf or Evans in there, or maybe Brown too, and go with 2 Arizona and 2 because I think it's just going to be one of the highest scoring games of the week, and want to capture multiple pieces of that. And then Washington defense. For GPP, I'm going to take a shot on Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think that he's cheap enough. He's got some upside. If he just has one rushing touchdown and doesn't throw 5 picks, I think he's fine. We'll throw Cooper out there, and then maybe I'll double stack him with Njoku. But Freiermuth, like I said, free square. if he's playing, he's active at 2.5, I'm going to play a lot of him in utility or tight end just because it opens up and he doesn't need to do much to pay off for his position. By playing these cheap pieces, I can get Eckler and McCaffrey both in, two solid running backs, and I think I can get a ton of points in those positions. It opens up two definite mid-range positions for my wide receivers, and I'm playing the Jets defense. FanDuel is pretty much the same. The only thing is Washington defense a little bit too expensive for my build, so I'm going to go for the Jets defense in cash, and I'm going to take the Giants defense in GPP. So I got for you. If you have any questions, you can always put them in the chat below or hit me up at MegaRow31 on X/formerly Twitter. If these videos help you, you can help us back by liking and subscribing to our channel so you know the videos coming out and sharing with all your friends. And if you want more information on FSI DFS to be able to get into our Discord to get our full package with all our finalized cores, and Rob and J Scott put out some pretty unique GPP cores that have been pretty profitable through the season, then you can go to the description of the video and you can sign up for FSI DFS on the website for the packages. They're actually relatively cheap and inexpensive. And now that we're halfway through the season, with only less than half the season left, I'm going to go in and drop the price of the season-long package, and just look at our website on Black Friday, because we'll definitely be running some deals and coupons, and check out our social media on that also. But let's see here. What should we drop the season-long package to for NFL? Let's make it, we'll make it $75. So if you want to get into the rest of the season, I have just put it on sale for $75. So there you go. That's a decent value for you. So thanks for watching. Good luck in your contest. You know how to get a hold of me, and check out our video for Monday Night Football coming up and all the other content on our channel. And good luck this weekend, and I'll see you next time.